Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive on into the topic. And you might be watching us live. You might be watching the replay. You could be even listening to us as GoalChat on the Marketing Podcast Network. No matter how you found us, we are so glad you're here because, we're talking about scalability today, which I think is so important because if you're tuning in, you are likely an expert, entrepreneur, consultant, a creative, a something. And you do that because you've got messages to share. You've got a business you're running. And how do you do bigger? You scale. So says the solopreneur with 4 podcasts. Anyway, I'm really jazzed today. We have Liz Heiman with us from Regarding Sales, and Liz is one of these 60 people I interviewed for 52 Secrets. So Liz, always fun when we get to hang out. We also have Camille Miller, who I'm trying to remember. Did you find me? I know you've been on before, but did we meet through friends or did you just find me?
I think we met through Lisa Reed.
Yes.
Yeah.
We did. Lisa, who does she does International Speakers Network.
She's speaking, yeah.
And she's got a couple of her own podcasts. Okay, yes. I knew it was a person. So, and we also have Joe Patneaude, and he just found me through people, which is always great. So what I do is on the third Wednesday of the month, so the next one's coming up. Well, if you're watching this live, the next one's coming up this Wednesday. If you're listening to it, it was yesterday. The next one will be the third week in November. But I do these GoalChat online mixers so people who want to be on the show who I don't know can become part of my community and we can find a spot for them. And I always say, unless it's on purpose that people don't know each other, but I booked Joe for this when he came to GoalChat a couple months ago. And then I was looking at the upcoming, and Camille does it from a soul perspective. I'm like, okay, you know each other, but that's okay. We'll bring you all together. And then we've got Liz, who contributed a Networking for Introverts quote, coming again at this from a different perspective. So I know we're going to have a great conversation, but so far, all you know about these people is they're awesome and I like them. So I love to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves better. So let's do that. And Liz, let's start with you. Who are you and why are you here other than the fact that we're friends and you like
well, I'm here because I love Deb, but I am a sales consultant. My company is Regarding Sales, and I help companies scale their sales. So often they're fairly new companies, but more often they're 20 or 30-year-old companies that don't have scaling sales organizations. So I help them put all of the things in place they need in order to get the kinds of sales results they want.
And because even though it's like every entrepreneur is, or what a consultant is, a salesperson, whether you want to be or not, because if you have no sales, you have no business.
Mm-hmm.
Is that pretty much the...
If you have no sales, you have a hobby.
That's much nicer than the way I said it. Well, welcome. I'm excited to chat with you today. Camille, welcome. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to be back. Thank you for having me. I'm Camille Miller, and I am a business mentor and soul strategist, and I help people design and scale businesses in alignment with who they are. So taking all their uniqueness in the world and then putting it into their business to help them either reinvent what they're already doing or starting a new business sometimes after a career.
And that soul factor, that alignment factor is really important, because if you're putting all this effort into creating something, you need, well, it's very Deb. So the D is determine your mission. You need to start with who you are and what you want to put out in the world, and finding that alignment, locating that alignment button. Very, very important. So absolutely. I know you're going to bring a fun, different perspective to this, and glad to have you.
Thanks.
And then Joe, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Joe, and I help leaders scale smarter instead of harder. So I help them free up their time and rebalance their efforts and make sure it aligns with their value system so that they can get their team and their systems in place, and so that the business supports their life instead of the other way around.
Yes, that work-life harmony thing, it's not a myth. It is possible. And again, especially when you are, shall we say, a heart-centric entrepreneur, consultant, executive, whatever it is that you are, you want the balance. There is a reason you've gone into business, and you want to, let me see if I can put you all in this. You want to be at one with who you are. You want to get yourself out there, and you need to sell yourself so it is more than a hobby. It is for a lot of people, it's not the hobby, it's the calling. You know, I've got these skills and people need, or I've got this background, people need to hear what I have to say. So you've all talked a little bit about your business, but I'd love to know how you got there, because I'm imagining once upon a time, this was not what you did. So how did you become the person who helps people scale? Liz?
Oh, well, mine is such a long journey that gets me here. I was going to save the world. No, seriously. I studied
awesome
peace studies, and I went to graduate school to study peace, and started studying economics and international trade. And that was my passion. I also grew up in a sales family. So my dad wrote a book called Strategic Selling. And so I literally grew up in the world of sales. And when I was done working on my graduate degree, I went and worked for Miller Heiman as the head of Asia Pacific, and didn't love working with great big corporations because you have so little impact. And so now I help mid-size, primarily manufacturing and professional services companies build their sales operations so that they can scale. So that's a short version of a very, very long story.
Love that. And you were born into selling, but you found a way to do that that's authentic to you and something that you love.
Well, and my dad is a salesperson, right? Totally a salesperson. And I'm not. I'm much more of a statistician or a operations person, an economist. So I had to learn to sell from a different perspective, which is that, introverted sales kind of thing that we've been talking about, Deb. But yeah, so I don't sell like a person who thinks they're a natural salesperson who's super outgoing and all of those things. I really am more of an introverted seller.
Awesome. Okay, Camille, how did you become Soul Professional?
So my first degree was in counseling psychology. And by the time I finished that degree, I hated doing it. So
as happens, right? Okay.
So in my senior year of college, I actually found out marketing and how psychology is used in marketing and business and consumer responses and stuff. And that really got me going. But when I came out of school, I actually went into the nonprofit world. So it was quite by mistake. I was volunteering my time, and someone said, you can get paid for doing this. And I was like,
okay,
are you kidding me? And that's how my career started in the not-for-profit world. I went on to get like an MBA in marketing and all of that, but I've always used it in not-for-profits, and it grew. I ended up consulting and doing strategy work and cash flow, and I ended up becoming a CEO of a major nonprofit because they won a multi-million-dollar grant and had no idea what to do with it. So I got hired to help with that. And when that was actually defunded, it was a 4-year project. When it was defunded in 2015, I really wanted to have more impact in the world. Like, money wasn't my motivator anymore. So I was like, well, how can I help these holistic people that I met, because I was in organic farming, start to bring their gifts to the world? And that's how the Soul Professional brand started. So it's just a global call for entrepreneurs in purpose-driven work to bring their gifts to the world, whatever that is. So that's how that happened.
I love that. And I also love that you were hired to help a nonprofit spend money. I mean, is that not like the best job?
Yeah, I had to build a lot of programs, but yes.
Well, it sounds like here's a
Yeah,
check. Here's a blank check. Build whatever you want.
It was
I
awesome.
think is the creative's dream. It's like,
yes,
you mean I could do anything and have all the resources? And as a entrepreneur, solopreneur, consultant, creative, whatever, when you're on your own or you have a small team, you need to dream big without the big wallet sometimes. So I think that's why the alignment is especially important, because you've got that fuel.
Yeah. I always say, like, I like to build businesses, not run businesses. So that's why I help people build businesses. Like, I am not your long-term coach.
Amazing. Joe, same question. How'd you get to be you?
Well, like Liz and Camille, there's obviously a long backstory, but what I would say is I started in financial services about 25 years ago, completely by accident, if I'm being perfectly honest. It was one of those things where, you just needed a job, and I started out in the mailroom. And within 10 years, I was a director level, and I spent 25 years total in the industry, going all the way from the mailroom up to the C-suite and holding several different C-suite roles. Along the way, a lot of people, got to know me and see the way I worked and how I was building the teams that I was building, and just started asking me on the side for help. So that's how the coaching really got started. Along the way there, even just doing the tech stuff and everything else really gave me the opportunity to see how many business owners were trying to implement somebody else's version of success. So they'd read a book and say, oh, I just need to do these steps for my business, but they weren't aligning it with what they really wanted beyond the dollars, what their value system was, what work-life balance they wanted. And that's how it all sort of came to be. Was I got tired of doing it for other people and started doing it for myself.
And that's why this book exists, by the way, because I have, and I'm sure I've said this in our chats, I hate those gurus that say, do exactly what I am doing and you will have the exact same success, because everybody does not have the same background, experience, resources, right? Exactly. This is like choose your own adventure. Take an idea out for a spin, and if it doesn't work, I know it's 52 secrets, there are 60. If it doesn't work, there are 59 more things you can try. And then when you land on the ones that are good, you do them more, and then you get rid of the things that don't work. But I think also we're living in a time where it's never been easier to start a business, whether it is a hobby or a side hustle or a passion project. And I think actually it's good for people. If you work a job because you've got all that education, maybe you don't love it, you like it, you're good at it, you're not going to leave, but you can start something else. And if that blows up, then that could become your life. And if it isn't, at least it's a source of joy. So what do we think?
I think, I was just going to say, I think because it's so easy now, so many people are doing it, that the competition is becoming fierce. So you have to actually get better at your branding, your messaging, your creating of community, your uniqueness in the world, your differentiator, because there are just people with AI now, there are people just shouting from the mountaintops.
I think that's super important. And I think it's also making sure that you're doing what you really know how to do and you're credible. There are a lot of people who have hung shingles that really don't have the skill set or the experience to do what they say they're doing. Hi, I'm 22 years old and I'm going to be your life coach.
Oh God.
That's great. I love that. That is so fabulous. And when you have any sense of what it took to get in my life where I am now, happy to have that conversation. Or I'm going to be your fitness coach. Great. When you become a woman in her, I'm not going to even say how old I am, like, then come and talk to me. Right. So in the same as sales, I would, I spent a year as an SDR, and I'm going to tell you how to build your SDR team, right? So yes, it's so easy now. Start a business, do something you love, but be credible, be real.
Yeah.
If you don't have the credentials, don't hang your shingle out and say you do. You'll get into a lot of trouble. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think not only, if I could expand on that, Liz, the fact that you have to have the background, the experience and whatnot, but it has to align with who you really are and who you want to be. You know, I do think it's a blend of both what Liz and Camille were saying, because you can't just promise to plan for somebody's future, take care of all their problems and everything if you haven't lived it yourself. But also, if you're just doing it for $1, it's not coming from the right spot, and it's not going to ever grow the way you want it to, because it's going to feel like work. And if you love what you're doing, it's going to grow so much faster, so much more organically, and people are going to sense that authenticity, especially people who are introverts. You know, we're very in tune with whether or not someone's being authentic. And I think that really comes through if you really truly care and you're really aligned with your business.
So Liz says, be credible. Joe says, make sure it aligns with who you are and what you want to be. And Camille says, because you actually inspired the question, I don't know that I got a direct answer from you.
Oh.
how do you stand? You said you stand out. So what do you think is the best way to stand out?
Know your uniqueness in the world, your differentiator. You know, it's what the others are saying. Like, you have to know what your greatness is in the world, right? That should be what, like I say, your lane of joy, right? Your lane of expertise, your unique genius in the world is where you should be focusing. Not all the other stuff. People go broad. I'm like, don't go broad. Stop it. You got to go really, really, really narrow, so people are attracted back to you.
So, and that's an interesting, really important statement, because one of the things when I work with a lot of founders who are building their dream company, and I say to them, who's your target market? And they say, everybody could buy from me. I can sell to absolutely anyone. And I'm like, okay, are you Coca-Cola? Because Coca-Cola has it was something ridiculous, a $3 billion sales and marketing budget. And so if you happen to be Coca-Cola, you can sell to everyone. If you're not, you can't afford it. You simply can't afford it. So know where you fit, know your market, know where you're going, and who, when you speak to them, they can hear you, because when you speak to everyone, no one hears you.
Yeah.
As someone who, and you all know me well enough to know this, is a goal strategist, that is the way that I have to answer the question, you know, who do you help? But I narrow it to busy professionals who want to level up in life. I mean, it's still a little vague-ish, but everybody has, it's vague adjacent. Everybody has goals, whether they're personal or professional, whether they're related to their career path or they want something on the side. So I resemble that remark. So I just use busy professionals as my cheat. And for my book proposal coaching, I've actually gotten more narrow. And I love that you said this, because whenever I meet someone, I help executives, entrepreneurs, consultants, basically thought leaders, put their ideas into a plan to write a book and get it published traditionally. They get that right away because it is so specific. I could be goal, and then I talk about the book thing. And the book thing is what they get. So yes. And Joe, what else?
No, I was just going to agree with that. And I would add to it, you know, the niching is so important, right? Because, for example, I'm not going to go out and try to help just anybody, because what I know is what I can help somebody grow with. They're coming to me, as Liz and Camille both said, for the experience. You know, they come to all of us for each individual experience that we have, because otherwise we're just a commodity, right? You know, business growth is not just business growth. We have to have the actual credentials and experience behind it to be able to do that, and make sure that we're providing value, because if nothing else, we all owe our customers, whether we are auto dealers, financial practices, or fitness coaches, it doesn't matter. everybody owes their customer the best that they can give them.
Mm.
And that's how you build the authenticity.
I love that. Did I ever tell you that I accidentally worked in financial services for 7 years?
I'm so sorry.
Well, like you, I went in as marketing coordinator and left director of communications. So I got to do the fun stuff,
Yeah.
but it was still financial services. And when I got laid off, no one has ever been happier in their life, I think, to have been laid off. But all the experiences you have contribute to the expert that you are. And then the other factor I like to point out is sometimes on my panels, I have 3 people who play in similar waters, but like today, but the person who works with Camille is not the person who works with Joe, is not the person who works with Liz. You all come at it from a different angle. And so you're very specific in what you do. You know who you help and how you help. And let's go into the scalability question, because I think it's especially important for people who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, because they are selling them, the most part, themselves, their knowledge. So what does scalability mean, and how can somebody who is the product scale who they are? Joe, you want to start us out?
Sure. Well, for me, scalability is not just about size. It's about sustainability and whether or not your business can run without you. We all have to think about someday when we're going to exit, right? And that's how we also make it more attractive from an exit standpoint. I think the real test is just that. Can your business survive a week or two without you? And to scale it, you have to then have those infrastructures in place to make those decisions while you're out, and to keep your value systems that's running the business going. So
I like that you added the value system in there. What do you think, Liz?
I think that scalability is about systems, right? So, which is what Joe was saying, right? If there is no system, if there's no process, if it's not repeatable, it is not scalable. And one of the, places that I find is the hardest for people to do is when it gets to, how do I get somebody else to sell for me? So the next step after being a solopreneur is often, or if you're starting a small business, is often, can I get a salesperson, or can I get somebody, a channel partner who can help sell me? And because we just talk and hope there's a connection and build energy and momentum and relationships, and then we hire somebody to sell for us, and they're like, I can't, I don't know how to do this for you, right? So whether you're having somebody do the actual processes you're doing, whether you're having somebody to sell for you, as soon as you bring another person, you have to make it repeatable and manageable, right? And you can't scale until you start to make things repeatable and manageable.
Okay, I like that. And I think that's really, I think that's a really good litmus test. If someone can sell for you, that means you are in a scalable business. Camille, what does it mean from a soul standpoint?
So I work with what I call like micro entrepreneurs. They're smaller. They usually are the product. So when we talk about scaling, sometimes it's just getting help so they're not doing it all, right? That's like the first step we talk about, how are you delegating? Like, what are you doing that's repeatable that someone else can pick up, right? So you're staying in your zone of genius and you're making money at the highest level at all times. For a lot of coaches, consultants, it's like that one-on-one to one-on-many, right? And for the sales part, what can we automate? So you're not actually doing anything, or not anything, but you're always staying at your highest dollar value, right? So it's the staff, it's the people that are helping you, but it's automating too. Like when I had a membership for 10 years, I used to talk to every single one of those people. And then when I got like an automated membership form, I was like, oh my God, what a change. Right? Just like the little things right now. at this time, I'm just going through all of my funnels again. Does this lead to this? So I'm not on the phone all the time. Like, how do I get off the phone? Because I do sell, for me, I sell everything, and no matter who I've hired, they don't sell like I sell. So I'm like, okay, so how can I show my energy in a different way? So it's either videos or it's podcasts or it's, all of these other things that I do that draw people into a funnel. So scaling is all of that. It's automating, it's processes, systems, things that make your life easier so you can have some balance.
Okay, and you're kind of answering the next question, which is the natural next one, which is how can people scale? So what is the first step in asking yourself the scalability question?
Delegate. What can I delegate?
Okay.
I think right now we're in a really interesting place with AI. Because we can have what we call agents, and I'm learning about AI agents now and starting to try and create some. But you can actually start to remove some of the tasks that are repetitive and time-consuming and no fun, and actually have your AI agents do some of them, helping you with your calendar, helping you with filing, helping you with getting people, if somebody registers, making sure that they get all of the things that they need and into the right places and get the next piece of mail or whatever it is. So thinking about in the simple ways of delegating to another person or automating a little bit, but then actually getting to that next level of AI agents who help you figure out how what the next logical step would be, or how to move on from there. And I'm no expert in AI. Let me just, I'm not an AI expert. I do play one on TV, but I think there's a lot there that makes this solopreneur world or small business world a little bit easier, or will in the coming years.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I would just expand on that, because I think you both have said something very important, and that's, around delegation. But I really start with, what are the things that only you can do in your business? And then we sit down and we do an evaluation of, are you really the only person that can do it, or are you the only person that you trust to do it? Because I think the trust in delegation is huge. To sort of expand on something that, both Liz and Camille touched on, with getting the right people in and delegating, you have to make sure you're getting people that, again, have the same goals and value systems. Right. Real quick example, I've hired a lot of financial advisors over the years at different firms, and not all of them can come in and sell at the same level. Even if they were great producers at another company, doesn't mean they're going to be successful in your company if your alignment isn't there with the process, the sales process, and the goals and values of the company. Because believe me, every company says they're, there for ethics first, but ethics is one of those fluid things that gets defined differently by different people. And so once you hire somebody who's on the same page there, then that sales process becomes more natural. And that is how you create the repeatable, okay, now you're the new me. As Camille, you were saying, it's hard to get anybody that can sell the way you do, and nobody will ever be 100% you. But when you find somebody who's there for the same reasons, the same motivations, the same goals, you find that energy is a lot easier to transfer, and I would say more accurately transfer.
And Deb, do you mind if I just tag on to that a little bit?
I wish you would.
So that, first of all, that's exactly what I do with people and with companies, is help them figure out how can a salesperson, whether they're in financial services or any business, actually do that selling work successfully. No one will ever sell like the owner. They will never have the passion the owner has. They will never have the deep insight that the owner has, but that doesn't mean that they can't sell. And we know this because there are millions of salespeople, and many of them are successful, not all. But the second thing that I want to say is that this idea of values in sales is really important. And we often think that sellers are loud, they're obnoxious, they're arrogant, they're self-centered, they're excellent talkers. They can tell us, like, we have all these things in our head. Some of them, even though we might think they're good, they're not real, right? So sellers are people who are really good at understanding problem and solving it and helping someone make a good decision. But what happens is, because we have this story in our head about what salespeople are, we hire salespeople whose values don't align with our companies. And then we wonder, why are the salespeople creating so much chaos in my company? Why does everybody hate the salespeople? Why are they behaving this way? Why do my clients think they're horrible people? Well, because they are horrible people. You hired horrible people. And I don't know why you did that, because good sellers are great communicators and they work well in teams and they want people to be successful. So anyway, just carrying that theme from what Joe was saying, just a little
Very
bit.
well said. I couldn't agree more.
So how do you, so, and now I feel like it treads a little into Camille's world. So how is it that people find, where does the alignment come from?
In sales?
In
we
business?
connecting?
Yeah, I'm trying to connect all of the dots, but I think everybody here agrees that, you know, you represent the people who represent you.
Yes.
Need to be in alignment with
Yes.
you ethically, morally. Those are the two things, right?
Yeah.
Is there another one?
I don't know, but
Okay.
but I think we all have made bad hiring decisions. I have too. I wrote about it in my second book. I was like, here's all the failures I did, right? And hiring was a lot of times I hired the wrong person, or I thought they were sweet, but they really didn't have the skill set. I'm much better at that now. But I think for anyone, it depends on, I should say, really depends on what you're hiring them for, right? If I hire a number 2, they actually can't be like me. We have to have the same core values, right? They have to be soulful, but they really need to be more detail oriented than I am, because I'm not, right?
Values was the word I was looking for before that I could not find in my head. So thank you. Please continue.
Welcome. Yeah. So, but if I was to hire someone to sell for me, which I have before, and I've just chosen not to because I close the best. So I give people other jobs. I was like, listen, if I'm the face, I'll just keep closing them. Right. But I can also go to a place to scale, or, you know, some of my clients, when we scale, we hire other people to do the contract work, do the coaching work. I work with a lot of doctors, right? So a lot of associates that will bring in, right, that just have a natural flow. It doesn't matter who they see. It depends on the job, right? Or, you know, if someone gets my private time, it's going to cost a lot more, but I could have a coach under me that is a lot less, that can work with a different tier of people. So it's all mix and match, right? Okay. But I think we attract exactly who we are. Right? When you were saying, like, we serve us.
Right. And the people who work with you need to share your values, your ethics, your morals.
Yes.
But they need to have a different skill set, so they're enhancing what you do.
Yes.
So you can't carbon copy yourself, but what you can do is find a value-driven copy to do the things that you don't want to or can't do as well.
Yeah. It's just like math. I don't do it. Right. The first person I hired was someone to do all of my books, and they wanted to teach me. I was like, no, don't teach me, because I am never going to do it. That is not my zone of genius. That's why I hired someone else.
I feel like Liz is chomping at the bit to chime in. Am I accurate?
Yeah. So I think this idea of values is super important. And I think a lot of people, when they start doing their values, they start doing these really generic values. First of all, we're customer first. We're, cooperation. teamwork. Like the same words come up all the time. And I think that if we want people to be able to use values the way we want them to use values, we need to be really careful about how we formulate them. So what do I mean by that? When I hire people, I want to test and ask questions that help me figure out, do they share my values? Not my skill set, because and not my culture, but my values. And the second thing is, my values should tell me how we treat our vendors, how we treat our clients, how we solve problems, how we innovate, right? My values are the guide rails for how my company functions. So if I'm not there to answer you and my value is kindness first, you jolly well better not talk to our client and be rude, right? Because that doesn't match our values. Or if, I use the same values for hiring salespeople as I use for running my business, which is creativity, curiosity, compassion, right? These are really important. And if people don't share that, if they're not curious, that means they're not asking questions to find out why my customer's upset and being creative about how we solve it. That's what I want my clients to do, or my team to do. So those values, what they are, matters. If you have a communications company and good communication isn't part of your value structure, something's wrong, right? So when we talk about values, I think it's super important to think about why do companies bother creating values? And why is it important that those values are real and have meaning to not just me, but the people around me, so that when I'm not there, they know how to make decisions. If you say we're all about ethics, but you cheat your customers regularly, then your team, anyway.
I feel like the kindness thing, though, for me, that's the bar of any place I want to work. Kindness, or any place that I want to work with, any service provider, whether it's, the internet or the pharmacy, you want kind people. Well, obviously you want people who are good at their job. But if I'm asking someone a question, they like, no, we don't do that. Can you ask someone? No, I know the answer. I mean, what does it take to say, let me check, let me see how I can make this better for you? Because from the consumer side, nothing will drive me running further from a company than someone who is there to help me be the opposite of helpful.
Yeah.
And Deb, you made a really good point right now. If I could just expand on that for a second, because as Liz said, we have to be careful of like the catchphrases and buzzwords when we're designing value systems and talking about value systems, because if they don't mean something, you end up with exactly the situation Deb just described. You end up with people who aren't really taking the business values and your ethics to heart and living them in the way they do their business, because they know, based on what they've seen and what you've published, that there's a misalignment, that your corporate values are just buzzwords and catchphrases and they don't have any real meaning. And that's when you end up with that customer service person that says, no, I'm not going to bother to ask.
Yes. Can you tell I'm very annoyed with my internet service provider who keeps telling me, no, we can't help you. You've got all the deals. You've got all the discounts. Can you humor me?
It's very subtle. I hadn't noticed.
But don't say no. What?
I said it's very subtle. I hadn't noticed.
but that is really the point. In these challenging times, I know everybody is frustrated everywhere. I mean, not us. We're just a joy. But if you're employed, if you're whatever you're doing, whether it is your own business or working for other people, if you can't find at least some joy in it, even if the joy is the paycheck, what are you doing?
Right.
Everybody's nodding in case you're listening and not watching this.
But I think this idea that companies don't run according to the values of the company, like this is the company values, and yet, so internet providers, AT&T, let me just tell you, right? Here is a company that really has a problem because whatever they think their values are, they are not living them. And they have these great salespeople who are trying really hard, and the AT&T policies undermine that. Like if you really want your salespeople to take good care of your customers, you have to enable them. And we saw this in United for many years. I don't know if any of you flew United. So I used to fly United when it was like fabulous to fly United, right? And then I flew United through the years of don't tell anybody that I did that for you because I'll get in trouble, right? And now we're in the years of United, which is better, right? They're happier, they're doing better. But if you want your team to treat your customers well, you have to enable your team to do that. And you can't put your customer first if you don't enable your team to do that.
I think the worst position anyone could be in a company is to have responsibility but no power.
I agree. Absolutely.
I agree more. Yep.
And I've worked in publishing, I've worked in education, I've worked in startups, financial I've worked in a lot of different types, and that's anywhere you go. It's industry agnostic. You're going to find people who are expected to do more without the resources. And I'm not bagging. Please, if I used to work with you, I'm probably not talking about your company. But I remember one that I worked for that was very, very value driven, and how they dealt with their team was not the same value that they reported in dealing with consumers. So they were very, this is how you work with people. This is how you make them feel seen and appreciated. And then there was a lot of backstabbing.
which is terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
And now people are, which company? I will never tell you.
It doesn't matter. Lots of companies. The point is it could be, any company anywhere. And if we want, we're talking about scalability. If you want scalability, people need to know how they're expected to behave. If you want scalability, people need to know how you want your customers to feel, or how you want your employees to feel. And then as a leader, you need to make sure that that's true. It's not good enough to say these are the values. You have to live them and reinforce them every single day.
And you know what, Liz? I think you're completely right about that, because the reality is if you don't know what your values are and you're not going to empower people, it doesn't matter what systems, processes, and tools you put in place, because all of those things, the systems, the processes, the tools, the things are all going to be multipliers, but they're only going to multiply what you already have. So if you have people who are not empowered, who are miserable, and you give them more tools and stuff, you're just going to make them more miserable faster, but you're not going to improve what you're actually getting for a result, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's fix how companies work. Go.
I think it starts from. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Camille.
I was just going to say it starts from the top, right? And your CEO, your founder, who's ever at the very top, is creating the culture that other leaders and department heads are following, right? So that's where it starts. So if it doesn't start at the top, it doesn't trickle down, or whatever's happening at the top trickles down, I should say.
And sometimes it starts fine at the top and then it goes pear-shaped. Or banana-shaped, or whatever it is, right? Okay. So Liz, jump on in. Let's make business work better for everybody, because we are going to solve it today.
So there's a concept that we're talking about now in sales called drag. And drag is anything that interferes with the salesperson's ability to do their job. which is selling. And in sales, it's things like difficult systems to use, or systems crashing, or not being able to get approvals, or whatever the things are that interfere with their day-to-day ability to sell, to make their customers happy and close deals. But I believe there's drag in every part of a company. And so if we just think about drag as the stuff that's dragging the company down, how do we, as leaders, identify those things that interfere with our employees' ability to do their job easily and happily? And what are we doing to fix it? Because we want to know why stuff isn't getting done. It's because we're allowing this stuff to keep going.
And why I also watch a lot of TV. You see the company is they're hiding something because it costs more to fix the problem than to settle it if someone complains, right? Am I explaining that right? People sometimes feel like, according to television, but also in life, people sometimes feel like, oh, it's going to cost way too much money to fix it. If we have a problem with one person, we will deal with that.
Well, sometimes it's about the cost. Sometimes it's about not knowing how to fix the technology problem. A lot of times it's about people demanding to own their part of the pie and not letting anybody have it. I control this. And so, but that's also a hiring and management and culture issue, right?
Okay, so it starts at the top with company culture. Then we have to identify and fix drag. What else, Joe?
Well, I would say you have to also look at your reward systems. A lot of the things that we've talked about when it comes to motivation for employees, because let's be honest, as founders or executives, they're going to be motivated by different factors than, people further down the corporate hierarchy. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't know why I couldn't come up with that. But you have to look at what those reward systems are. And the one pet peeve I have in the business world is that we constantly hear focus on results, focus on results, focus on results. Well, you get what you focus on, but if results are negative, you're going to get more negativity. Okay. I like to challenge that. I say you have to focus on a reward system and use the results to measure it. There is a difference. But when you change that perspective, you also take away the threat of, like Liz, you just get a great example of, the person that says, I own this, don't take it away from me. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. It's usually a fear-based reaction.
Yeah.
Well, if you have a reward system that rewards sharing that and building the repeatability in the company instead of the fear that if I share, I'm going to lose, now you've changed the entire perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
I believe that we all come from the win-win-win perspective, and that is the essence. When you elevate others, the running theme, elevate others, give them the tools and or resources they need to succeed and live your company mission, easy peasy. But things like fear and money and scarcity and all that do come into play. I want to read a comment by Pamela Barroway, who's watching live. Everything being discussed, here's why I never went back to corporate after nearly 20 years. I wish the powers that be at all levels could watch and internalize this content. Thank you for that, Pam. It's yes, listen to us. We'll fix it. And the other thing that she said, which we covered before, if no one finds joy in working at a particular company, it can be miserable. And if you can't leave, at least find one thing that is joyful about it, or ask your team leader or supervisor, say, I'd love to be able to do more of this. Would that be possible? Because the happy employees, they stick around. Unfortunately, sometimes the miserable employees do as well, but that impact isn't always terrific. What else? Okay, so let's flip back to the entrepreneur powers that be leader perspective, because it is time to gift some goals. So what is something that whoever's watching can do today, tonight, tomorrow to maybe not even scale, but to prepare to scale? What are some things that they could put in place that put them in a position to succeed, to put them in, or their company in win-win-win situations? Joe, do you have a goal to
Yeah.
gift?
The first thing I would say is take a moment to sit down and look at what you do on a daily basis as a leader, and ask yourself how much of it has to be you, how much of it relies on your unique experience or skill set, versus what could be systematized. What decisions could be given guidelines that others could follow. But doing that self-assessment is really the very first step in determining the scalability of your business.
I like that. So it's the other part of it being, you don't have to give everything up. You're not looking to delegate everything. That's the point. The point is to just delegate the stuff you don't have to do.
Exactly. And the stuff that you don't enjoy, because there has to be a benefit to being the business owner or founder, right? If there's tasks that you enjoy doing and you get more than the financial reward from doing those tasks, then by all means, you should be doing it. You created this business for more than just money.
Right. Okay, Camille, what goal are you gifting?
So I work with the smaller founders, like micro entrepreneurs, I call them. I would say take a look at everything that happens from your first conversation with someone all the way to the sale, and what you could possibly automate. So it could be a follow-up email. It could just be an onboarding automation. Anything that you can automate will help you start to scale. Because if all of a sudden you 10 times your clients, you'll drown. Someone once told me when I was scaling that when systems break, it's like, take it as like a badge of honor, because it means that you're growing, but you got to clean it up pretty fast, because it can also implode on you.
Well, in the thing that immediately comes to mind as far as something that's easy to automatize or systemize and automate, to automatize. Don't you love that? I made up a new word. There's the text expanders, or if you're sending the same type of email to the same people all the time, use a text expander. Or if you don't want to do that, make a file of all the different kinds of emails you send and put it all in one place. And it's a non-delegation thing. It's a preparation thing. It is a way to systemize and save a little bit of time, or a lot of bit of time.
Yeah, agreed. I always tell my clients, you can systemize in a Word document or a Google document.
Yes.
Start there.
Yes. Yeah. No, I love Google Documents and Google Sheets, because when you chart things out, when you look at them, you don't need the bells and whistles. Sometimes all you need is a virtual pad of paper.
Yep.
Okay, Liz, what goal are you gifting?
I just want to say two things really quickly. One is, if you really want to sell your business or you really want to scale, then you do need to figure out every single thing, how somebody else could do it, because you can't sell it if someone else can't do it. So that's the first thing. But I think there's a really great book that I go back to all the time. It's called The E-Myth Revisited, and it's behind me. I can't think of who the author is. It's worth reading. It's a really good book. Joe, you probably read that.
I absolutely have.
It's a great book. But what he tells you in the book is start documenting what you do. And when we talk again about AI, open up ChatGPT and say, okay, ChatGPT, I'm about to file all my invoices. Here's what I do. and do it and tell ChatGPT. You can even speak, I think. Do it while I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and have it write your SOP. Put it in a folder. I keep all of mine in OneNote, or Evernote, because they're easier to get to. But start figuring out, what are those tasks? How do you do them? And it has never been easier. It will format, then you can ask it, what didn't I tell you? What's missing? What did I forget? What could go wrong? And it will tell you. And it may not be 100% right, but it sure takes a lot of the work out of it. So that's what I would say is next.
Okay. So the goal is to figure out everything you do and let ChatGPT expand
Write your
upon.
SOP.
Yeah. Okay. I want to put it in the chat, so I'm writing this down. Sometimes the conversations are so good, I get distracted and like, oh wait, what is that goal? Okay. But that's the thing with AI. I mean, something else I say all the time. I feel about AI the same way I feel about SMART goals, and I'm not a fan. But when you look at AI as the tool that it is, as a way to save time from, it is not creating things for you. It is just, it's like your helper. Then yes, it is it's a very helpful tool. And I think this is a really good way to utilize it, to give them, allow your ChatGPT friend, no matter, him, her, whatever you name it, to be your partner in, okay, I took care of this today. Or even ask them, is there a way I could have done it more succinctly, and get a little bit of feedback that way. Yeah. Thoughts?
I completely agree, Deb. I actually, I was laughing when you said whatever you call him or her, but it's funny because the more you treat it like it's a human being, and that you talk to it and you give it a name, the more real it feels and the more natural it becomes to use it and engage with it. So I do many of the things like what Liz was saying, and even daily, I sit down and just do a journal in ChatGPT where I will hit the dictate button and just speak. I'll talk about what I did today, what interactions I had that maybe I didn't already document, and it will pull out action items for the future, whether it be tomorrow or food for thought for future, books or articles or whatever the case may be. And then when I am sitting down to work on something, like perhaps I'm writing a new article or something like that, I'll ask ChatGPT. I'll say, hey, what have I said over the last 30 days where you said this was a good thing? Remind me, and it'll pull it all forward. And that's quite honestly how I come up with a lot of the topics for a lot of my articles, is by looking at things that have come up repeatedly over the last 30 to 60 days.
Interesting. Yeah. And it's, there's a thing with writers, if you've got writer's block, you need to befriend it, embrace it. And I feel like that is so appropriate with ChatGPT. Don't think of it as it's going to take over everything. Think of it as your helper friend.
Absolutely.
Right. And remember that a lot of times it's wrong. Oh, yeah. It does hallucinate and do goofy things. You cannot just believe it. But it's a great starting place or great refiner.
Right. It's like if you write a description for something and say, this is too clunky. It's still your words.
But I always say, read it again tomorrow, because ChatGPT and Claude and many of the others, they're very smooth. So you read it and you're like, oh, that sounded so good. And then you read it tomorrow and say, that said absolutely nothing. So read it the next day, make sure it says what you want before you publish it. But yes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or even not even the next day, go do something else and come back to it with fresh eyes. But that's true of anything that you create, whether you're using an electronic friend or just your own brain. Walk away, look at it with fresh eyes, fresh perspective, which, and I'm trying, believe me, I'm trying to tie that back into scalability. Think about your job, your business, your career, whatever it is. Every now and then, look at it with fresh eyes, see what it is that you are doing I also love that you said the reward system. It's important for your people, but it's important for you as well. When you accomplish things, you need to be as good to you as you are to your people, because as we said, it starts at the top. So make sure you are loving what you're doing, because the moment you're not, it's going to pour out of you as well. Wow, this has been such an interesting conversation. I love diving into topics and seeing where the thread goes. So I thank you all. Where can people learn more about each of you? And let's start with you, Liz.
2 places. One, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm just Liz Heiman, Heiman, or you can go to my website, regarding-sales.com.
Excellent. And Joe, where can people learn more about you?
The easiest thing to do is to go to my website, jpcoachingnow.com. And from there, you can find my email, my phone, and all of my socials as well.
Excellent. And Camille?
I'm the same. LinkedIn is probably where I'm the most active. I'm Camille L. Miller, though. A lot of Camille Millers. So Camille L. Miller, it's that on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and the website is soulprofessional.com.
Awesome. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you will get the recap and watch the replay. And I include everybody's LinkedIns as well as their website. So connect with one of us, connect with all of us. Can't reach your goals on your own. And this is, one of the joys of being able to do a show like this is, guess what? You get to add if you're a new watcher, you get to add 4 people to your tribe. If you're not so new and you know me, you get to add 3 more people. But the point is, and there are people who tune in who I notice are friends with like all of my guests. So I know people do that kind of outreach, but this is what we're here for. We're here to be resources and champions, because that's how we make things happen. And if you need a little bit of extra help with your goals, you can always grab a copy of 52 Secrets or your goal guide at your favorite place to buy books. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific with 3 guests. And as I said before, you can subscribe to GoalChat at your favorite place where you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe to my 3 other podcasts. That's in the show notes as well. Friends, what final thought would you like to leave us with today? Camille, final thought?
I would say you want to scale something that's sustainable for you and the lifestyle you want to live in the world.
So it's scale with yourself in mind.
Yeah.
Great. Liz?
I think there's 2 critical things to scaling. One is it repeatable and is it manageable? And the other is, what are your core values and how does that help the people around you know how to do business with you or for you or as an employee?
Okay, so think about your values and the things that you do. Can they be systemized? And if you've got them together, you can scale. Is that what you're saying?
Got to have both. So you have to have the pool in which we swim, and then you have to also know how to swim.
That's a great analogy. It's not just, you can't just have a pool. You also need to know how to swim.
And you can't swim on concrete. You got to have water.
You need both. You have them and you have to swim. Okay, this is great. Joe, final thought.
Final thought. Scaling isn't just about doing more. It's about doing more of the right things the right way so that you can simplify your focus and let your systems and your team do the heavy lifting.
I'm typing as fast as I can. Seriously, such a lovely and deep conversation. I thank you all so much for joining me. Camille, Joe, Liz, thank you for tuning in and for prioritizing yourself, your business, your scaling. If you've got, whether it's a side hustle, a hobby, a real grown-up business, or just you're thinking about what do I want to create, You can create it. The tools are out there. When you are in touch with who you are and you create from there, that is really the best first step. So thank you for tuning in. Go out there, create something, scale, go for it, because we know you can do it.